When I think about fashion and sport, I think about creativity, strength, and theme. What makes a good performance is the choreography of it. If you have a theme, especially show either a storyline with it or a character. So a lot of people tend to have that connection, but also there's a lot of performances where it doesn't require any character or any story behind it. It's just the movement of it and how much like flow that goes into it or strength to just kind of showcase circus. I do find there is some sacrifice that I have to make in the fashion of the design in my costume. So for example, if my costume has an open back, I sometimes do have to sacrifice on either getting a burn or a bruise there because of the design of the costume. My name is Valerie Chang. I am a circus performer as well as a cinematographer and photographer. I started designing my own pieces because a lot of the costumes I saw online, for example, dance costumes or figure skating costumes, don't really fit the way that I wanted to, or certain parts of the costume either has like a skirt on it or like a little dangly fabric on it. And usually especially for aerials, that could be very dangerous. So designing my own piece, I can customize on where certain fabrics and certain like part of the costumes, but also I also want it covering certain spots that I personally feel that needs to be covered for the routine. The importance of color in my costume tends to represent the theme of it. So example, if I have a water theme, I would like to have more of like a deep royal blue or a aquamarine color to represent the theme of the costume. So another important thing on the costume is pattern, especially the lines on where the placement on the body. So let's say if I want to accentuate the length of my legs, I can have some of like the design of the pattern kind of weave down like my legs or go up my arm, and in certain movements and shapes that I do on the hoop, that will accentuate the shape of my body. A lot of my process is finding inspiration from other performers or other costumes that I've seen that I really like, but I want to add my own flair to it. So from there I would actually so I used to be a visual artist, so I would actually come in and like sketch out the design that I would want and then try to transfer it from paper to the fabric. The process that I usually translate my design from my paper into my costume, I would find inspirations obviously online, but also some stuff that I've seen on other people, and I would kind of make it into my own, and then from paper I would translate it over to either a friend of mine, and from there they'll take the design and kind of sew it for me and kind of transform it into real life. I actually want to incorporate circus and film together. So my goal is, because I'm a filmmaker, I want to bring out more circus into like the world basically. Not so much work with Cirque du Soleil. I know they have a lot of cameras, a lot of camera ops that film during the show. Not so much into the broadcasting of it, but more of like telling a story and using circus to tell a story with film. So like another aspect of being a circus performer in Toronto is the family that it's in here. The circus world in Toronto is very small, so everyone knows everyone. And there's one benefit is if you know someone, you can also ask for favors and reconnect them.
I think fashion in sport, it really gives, it plays a big role in people and giving themselves a sense of identity and a belonging to a certain group. Whether it's basketball or skateboarding, whatever it is, it gives them a sense of belonging to a specific sport and shows who they really are. My name is Nick Orsi. I'm a recent grad from the University of Guelph. I recently founded a company called Merlot. It's a clothing brand for skateboarding, and I'm currently doing digital marketing as a freelancer. So to start off, we had made only 3 pieces, a t-shirt, a long sleeve t-shirt, and a long sleeve polo. My favorite piece in the collection is probably the long sleeve polo, just because it is one of my favorite styles that I've seen in the skateboarding industry and one that I've always looked to purchase when I'm out shopping for brands in skateboarding. And yeah, just one piece that I really like to include in the collection.
It's definitely interesting to see fashion kind of being brought into skateboarding. Just in recent years, it's really been more relevant. I think for the most part, skaters are kind of really touching base with the more street style. And I think Nick's really trying to incorporate that in his branding and products as well. I think it's a great way to really express how skaters feel on the board. Skateboarding has always been a very individual type of action sport, so people have really been able to express themselves however they feel with their style. And I think just the more minimalistic take on things is a great way to kind of bridge the gap between high fashion and just like comfort.
So the roots of Merlot is in skateboarding. It's from my own hobbies and interests. It's started off as me skateboarding one day and realizing, hey, you know what, I'm wearing different clothing than what I'm used to wearing, as in like the skate brands that I'm used to wearing. Today I'm wearing like Lululemon or different types of clothing that I like to wear because of like the performance features. So Merlot was really founded off that premise of, you know what, I think there should be better performance clothing for skateboarding, and that's how it all started. And the brand is rooted in skateboarding. So when creating the brand, obviously it's more catered towards skateboarding, and people hear that, like, okay, I don't skateboard, so I can really maybe wear the pieces. But through our marketing and our messaging and overall branding, we try to really touch on the fact that it's for skateboarding, but it's also for the community of people who maybe just like the culture, or they like the sport but don't participate in themselves, or just like some type of aspect of it. So we try really to touch on that in our messaging, but also in the designs themselves. They're very simple and modern looking, so there's no graphic logos, there's nothing that makes it stand out that would not be appealing to you who would not like skateboarding. So I think it really touches on both aspects, where it could be for skateboarders, but it's also could be worn by anyone who doesn't like the sport specifically, but likes the style of the shirt because of that simple nature. To start with the designs, I knew I couldn't do it myself just because it's super advanced and I didn't have that skill, so I reached out to the designer, and together we worked on doing finding an overall main design for the shirts. So I brought forth what I looked for, each key detail. So the drop shoulders was one big part, having a wider chest and waist compared to having it slimmed down, and just I guess the neck opening as well, just a bit tighter than, not tighter, but just more not as loose as some other shirts out there, and that was a key piece to it. So I think overall designing this t-shirt was fun because I got to bring forth my favorite parts of what I look for in clothing, and then also the designer helped with what they thought were good components to include as well. So overall it was an enjoyable process. Currently we're working on kind of pivoting the brand. So we started off as athleisure, but since then, just being exposed to the whole fashion industry, I've realized like how unsustainable it is. I'm sure everyone else, or maybe you've heard bits and pieces of how truly unsustainable the fashion industry is. So making a pivot from being 100% athleisure just to being 100% sustainable, and really using that as a founding principle and a main philosophy for the brand and going from there. It's not a huge process, but just kind of making each piece from now on, making sure it's meeting sustainability requirements, making sure we're lowering our carbon footprint, whatever we can do, we're trying to do. So it's not an easy task, but small steps each day is putting us in the right direction. So.
When you think about the intersection of fashion and sport, what comes to mind?
Creativity. So with my sport, which is figure skating, there is a performance aspect. So having that element of fashion and creativity really brings your performance full circle. My name is Caitlin Wilson. I am a costume designer. When I was younger, I would design all of my costumes, and I really liked to do it. And people caught wind that I was designing and making my own costumes and started asking me to do it for them. And then I decided that I was going to go to school for fashion design. And then it just kind of took off from there. I did my thesis project on figure skating costuming, and now here we are. With my thesis project, it was a little bit more difficult because my creative process is I hear a piece of music and I draw what I see. I draw the colors that I see, I draw the sort of the movement and the design that I see the skater performing to with that music. But with my thesis project, they wanted something a little bit more tangible. They wanted mood boards, and they wanted me to go out into the wild and take pictures in shopping malls and restaurants and all of these places around the city, but that's just not what my process was. So it was a little bit more difficult in that sense, but I think the way my thesis project turned out was pretty cool. It was designed around a picture that I had taken of a sunrise on my way to morning practice one morning for skating. I loved the way that the light was hitting the street. I loved the colors in the sunrise. It was pinks and purples and yellows. It just made me happy when I saw that sunrise. Like, it made me feel light and airy and excited to be up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I know how important having a good fitting costume and a good feeling costume is. When you wear a costume that makes you feel good, I believe that it makes you perform better because you're confident. And confident means that you're not worrying about the jumps as much. You know that you've got this, you know you look good, you know you're top tier, you've got it. I'm not allowed to choose favorites for costumes. I believe that I don't want to make my clients feel like I didn't enjoy making their dress. So they are all unique in their own way. I love embellishment. All of the beadwork and the sparkles is definitely kind of my favorite. I also really enjoy fabric shopping. So I go to Leo's Textiles. They are my absolute favorite. I go see my girl Lynn, and I kind of tell her what color I'm looking for. She knows that I need a specific type of lycra, specific type of mesh. We find the colors, and then when we go to lace, we try and find something that matches but also looks really good quality. I want the fabric to last and I want the garment to last because I am at a higher price point. So it's really important to me that this fabric is going to withstand athletic competition. My hopes for Caitlin Wilson Design is I would like it to be my full-time job. I really love what I do and I love working with the clients that I work with. It would be really cool to have a costume at the Olympics, but that's pretty far down the road, I think. I want to be known as a quality garment. I want my skaters who wear my costumes to be skaters who love the sport, not necessarily Olympians or national level. I want everybody to feel confident in what they're wearing, and I want my brand to reflect that. Things take time. I can't just whip out a costume in an hour. I want everything to be exactly right. I want the fit to be perfect. I want the design to be perfect. I want the color, the embellishment, all of it to go exactly with your performance and exactly with your personality, so it is your dream dress. But unfortunately, that's not going to be inexpensive. These things take time, which costs money. There's definitely moments where people are overcharging for their work because of the name, but you also have to value your time and your skills and all of the time it took to get to where you are, and also factor in the cost of these fabrics, because fabric and rhinestones are definitely not cheap. Sometimes I'm spending $300 a yard on lace because that's the lace that's going to work best for this dress. With figure skating, it's so important that your costume not only reflects your music and your performance and the type of program you're about to do, but also your personality. Your costume is something that the judges are going to remember, and they're going to slightly judge you on it, even though they say they don't. It's definitely something that the audience and the judges are going to remember. Stand your ground. With the rise of fast fashion, people don't always value your skills and your time. They think it can be done in 20 minutes, when in reality it takes days or hours, or even weeks. So just value your time, value your skills, stand up for yourself, and just keep learning, keep improving, and you've got it.